Lads, this is the game of your lives. We're one game away from promotion, and I need you all to lock in. And I said, hey, listen, I ain't worn one of those things since 2003, and I ain't had any kids yet. These are the only fans who deserve a win in this league. They've traveled a long way. Only fan... Did he say what I think he said?
Ikarudi back pass lakini touch yake ikawa nzito. Baada hapo tazama
yeah, bang, have that. That'll do well on my page, you know. Next up, some toes before a goal. What the hell is this guy doing? Yo guys, it is your boy Niran here, and you are watching FTW. This, of course, the series where I bring to you the best and more frequently the worst of what football has to offer during the last 7 days. Before we get into this one, would really appreciate if you guys subscribe for this one. YouTube's stupid these times. It doesn't actually tell you when half the people you watch actually upload anymore. The easiest way to know when FTW is out is to subscribe, so would massively appreciate it. What's been kicking off in the world this week? Well, Donald Trump's inauguration was recently, so I'm sure there were no concerning or problematic political incidents. Right.
Are we the baddies?
After taking a break from sending XXX messages to an AI bot on the website that he's ruining, Elon Musk found the world's smallest fancy dress mustache and took it as a sign. Still a better sign than the one he's throwing up here. And here I was, thinking that a picture of Bevo and Luke Bennett was the worst thing I've seen this week. Yeah, re-ban TikTok, to be honest. This trumps it, though. Yeah, look, listen, I'm sorry, man. I didn't want to... Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Hole in the Wall. But this time with a twist. You're gonna work out who Elon paid tribute to for this shape here. Is it A, calling a taxi? Is it B, Monaco manager Adolf Hitler? I mean, it's close to that one. This is crazy, crazy work. But at least good news for Lazio fans who'll be rolling out in Teslas for their next Serie A match. You'll have a harder time defending this than pronouncing one of the names of his kids. That's what half of Twitter's managed to do anyway. Bringing out old pictures of other people with their arms in the air. And Alan Shearer, listen, man, I thought you were sound, lad. But clearly... Fuck off. Elon being a fucking imbecile might have Trump pulling his toupee off, but that shouldn't be a problem for one bald manager, unless he wants to change that. And that's Pep Guardiola, who couldn't do that if he tried.
No hair will ever grow on his head again.
He was wearing a hat this week, so he couldn't peel his own skin off. It's a week where Pep didn't decide to batter himself, so PSG did that to his side in the Champions League instead. City took a 2-0 lead in this one before a crazy rest of the second half, saw PSG score 4 to win in a match with more oil than a BP factory. Putting Man City on the verge of being grouped, by the way, and now needing to win versus Bruges on the final match day. I don't mean to alarm anyone, but maybe Pep's ex was the tactical genius in all of this. To be fair, he's already moved on from that, judging by his eye. Bro was the 1000th man in that video, that's all I'm saying. He wasn't ready to get out of there when Kyle Walker said that it was his go.
I'm not moving from this seat.
Can I just say, the kit they wore in this game, still terrible. This is the 116th charge, bro. Jack Grealish managed to score his first goal from open play since 2023. It's now 2025. But as I mentioned, the second half in this one was absolute chaos. Pandemonium all over the gaff. With Edison not exactly helping out his side with poor distribution, Pep will be calling up the local authorities immediately.
It's clear to me that you've got a forged passport. Man
City's midfield got the top speed of a Honda Civic's gearbox when it's outside of the car. A lot of people were talking about Wonder Unks instead of Wonder Kids over on Twitter. These are just Unks. İlkay Gündoğan's flight is a totally different one to the rest of his squad. Bernardo Silva was absolutely rinsed as well. He didn't have a good showing here. Done dirty by Ousmane Dembele with this nutmeg inside the penalty area as the Frenchman then hit the crossbar, and his face after was a picture.
What are you doing, my friend?
PSG quite rightfully celebrated after this magnificent comeback, and João Neves was integral, an unreal performance from the Portuguese midfielder. Elsewhere for Man City, though, and Erling Haaland signed a new contract that takes him all the way through to 2034. He thought the 9.5 was his monthly wage. The guy's been swindled. 9.5 years of humility, you know. This is crazy. Think of how different football's going to be in 10 years from now. Jude Bellingham will be in his 30s. Erling Haaland will have a total of 542 goals by the time this contract ends, and Arsenal still won't have won the Champions League. He said in an interview that he didn't even think about Manchester City's 115 charges. Can't help but feel he'll be a bit disheartened in 2027 when he's got 7 years of his contract left and Man City are playing in the Trafford West Combined Districts Neighbourhood Watch Division 2. He'll be hiring a lookalike instead to play up front, man. He hasn't got time to be playing against window cleaners. Elsewhere in the Champions League, absolute madness going on between Barcelona and Benfica, who played out a controversial 9-goal thriller that swung in Barca's favour with the last kick of the match. One random man in a VAR box somewhere in northern France went crazy with this script writing. But it started badly for Barcelona, with Wojciech Szczesny attempting to speedrun getting sacked at half-time by threatening to be a goalkeeper in this one. More self-sabotage, genuinely, than an Enzo Fernandez marriage. He blamed Alejandro Balde for Benfica's second goal of this game, then gave away a penalty for Benfica to grab a third. To be fair, it was definitely a dive, but Wojciech must have been in shock when he realised he'd made a second howler in 5 minutes.
It's happened again. It's happened again.
Raphinha, though, is having an all-time Champions League campaign. His stats for the group stages have been ridiculous. After the game, he was complaining about referees in La Liga, and if he said what he thought, he'd never play there again. But you can't say that after the way this game ended, with Benfica not getting a pretty clear penalty with basically the last couple of kicks of the match, only for Barca to go up the other end of the pitch and score and win. The referee in this one was celebrating with Barca for Raphinha's goal. One punter, though, was devastated after missing out on a mad amount of money when he predicted that Raphinha would score the last of a 9-goal thriller, but also predicted he'd get a yellow card. So all he needed to do was take his shirt off for a last-minute celebration, and he'd have won like $6 grand. They're back in the Premier League, and it's been a mixed last 7 days for United.
Half enough, half shit and half shit. Wake the fuck up.
Who let it late to turn around a 1-0 deficit to Southampton for an underdog victory against the side bottom of the league. It was Devils v Saints to start 2025, but it's Southampton in hell this campaign. Amad Diallo was the difference maker here, scoring clutch goals again and taking home the match ball after a Southampton defensive howler late. Aaron Ramsdale celebrating for him for the third.
It's a dogfight out there.
Daughters across Manchester will be asking in a few years why their first name is Amad Diallo. Lisandro Martinez was done dirty by the graphics to start this one, I'm not gonna lie. He was ready to scrap TNT Sports as soon as he saw the highlights back. Meanwhile, his centre-back partner, Lenny Yoro, he's not that guy, I'm not gonna lie so far. He has been a shambles since joining. A young player, to be honest with you, I'm sure he'll grow into the price tag that they paid for him from Lille. But his highlights for this game, absolutely atrocious given he was playing basically a championship side.
I don't care. For fuck's sake.
I don't give a fucking if they look and say fuck's sake.
And things got even worse up the other end of the pitch for Anthony with this miss from 1 yard out in an empty net. You're gonna take him back off the pitch again at that point, surely. His finishing, an absolute disaster, generally speaking. He was trying to slide tackle it. He's auditioning to play wing back, but he's taken a little bit too far. Luckily for them, though, Diallo is incredible. And luckily for United, Anthony is on his way out, going out on loan to Real Betis with an incredible record. 50 games in 50 appearances. Going on loan as a £100 million player, by the way, is mental. Apparently, a verbal agreement has been agreed with the La Liga side. That verbal agreement being getting on the floor and begging them to take him off their hands, because Ineos will have been fuming when they saw the bids that these other teams were making for him.
$7? Are you fucking serious?
During this match, though, there were some extra guests. I told you recently that there'd been a rat infestation at Old Trafford, and they're actually getting out onto the turf now. No need to worry, lads. This is just Bruno Fernandes heading down the right-hand side. This rat has got more minutes than Marcus Rashford this season. Meanwhile, in training, and the lack of funding continues, as Amad Diallo was wearing a training jacket that's got the actual badge upside down on it. The kit man is AliExpress. Do you understand how crazy this is? At least their owners will be gassed when they've not signed any players. They finished 16th, but they've saved £3.70 on shipping for training gear. They've got some poor kid from Bangladesh making all of these kits, by the way. And it got worse for United again as they fell to a 3-1 defeat versus Brighton, with an Andre Onana howler continuing a bad start to life at the club for Ruben Amorim. He might need a new trim at this point, judging from recent results. Honestly, this squad is useless, and I wouldn't be surprised if he perceives them as such.
And so for Hell FC, the worst people in history on the wings are Joseph Kony and Paul Potts.
Now, he was quoted as saying this may well be the worst team in Manchester United history. I mean, mathematically, it basically is in terms of the Premier League anyway. They've never had a Premier League season as bad as this. He later retracted the statement, kind of, and said he felt bad about saying it. But he didn't feel bad about smashing up a TV in a dressing room, allegedly so angry with his squad after the defeat that he genuinely did damage to the place. Not that Old Trafford needs any more damaging. Luke Shaw is gutted. Now he can't watch Big Zoo's Big Eats on the dressing room TV. And the exclusive footage of this palaver is even more telling. Apparently, by the way, someone cried at what happened here. And I'm here to tell you right now, it was definitely Alejandro Garnacho. Brighton, by the way, tagged Manchester United's official account over on Twitter when talking about the record that the Seagulls have got against United. That is crazy, but hold that. Slap that on your forehead. Crazy work, that record as well. Like, shout out to Brighton, but Ruben will be taking the way Brighton have treated his side to heart.
I hope Brighton get relegated.
Luke Littler appeared at Old Trafford with the World Darts Tournament trophy that he'd won over the last couple of weeks. Either that or Luke Shaw's been able to start walking again. Talk about Luke Littler. Stuart Littler was probably somewhere were out on the pitch as well. But can I say, this Andre Onana mistake for the third goal was a shocker. Genuinely, he's probably been better this year. His performances have been better on the whole, but the amount of mistakes this guy makes, he just can't be a top keeper at this level. He wasn't the same player for the second half, I'll tell you that much. Showing Jorginho Rutter exactly where to put the ball after spilling a cross into the box. I've talked about United being a howler, but I really like Brighton's squad, I'm not gonna lie. I've always loved their recruitment. It's the type that I always do on like Football Manager or something. But Carlos Baleba is an absolute gem. He's incredible. And Ayari was pulling the strings next to him in midfield as well. So great stuff from them again. Times are tough over at Tottenham as well as United, who once again lost, this time to fellow strugglers Everton. 3-2 to score here. Now look, it's another bad result here and the season isn't going that well, but I'll be looking to at least bounce back next campaign. You know, maybe if they can get the better of Sunderland, Coventry, Bristol City. The top 12 race, by the way, being West Ham, United and Spurs. I've never seen the light, and Heung-min Son is having the realization that it's yet another write-off of a campaign for him. James Maddison's dart celebration, yeah, it's a good job he's not playing against Luke Littler and that, because he's not hitting the board.
He's bloody missed it.
We've got to give a little bit of pity to Tottenham here. Their injury list is insane. We're scrolling through it right now, yeah, but 3 keeper injuries at the same time. How does that even happen? All right, so how bad's the list of injuries today? And I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but we're looking at about a 6 on the scale right now. Okay. That's why I can deal with that. So the scale's out of 5. I'm half expecting Dejan Kulusevski to walk into the canteen and the dinner ladies have pulled their hamstrings as well. And Postecoglou joked that his translator was even injured. And he'll be asking 19-year-old freshers in a Prism smoking area whether they can play centre-back. The physios must be working from home. The medical professionals, they're pulling up with calf injuries 30 minutes into the game. Oh, God, my knee. And that or they've got some unique methods in trying to get Tottenham players back to full fitness. We are genuinely one more midfield injury away from Miniminter signing for these lot on a there we land type of deal. But if there's one player that Ange doesn't want back, it'll be his backup goalkeeper. Dismayed when Fraser Forster says he's ready to play in goal again. But at least there's some good news for Tottenham fans this week. Ipswich lost in the relegation battle. So one man who has been fit, although playing out of position, is Archie Gray, a youngster they signed from Leeds in the summer. He at least treated himself to a new trim this week. Only Tottenham fans are wanting him to focus on the league. A relegation fade comment is crazy. But honestly, if we judge players and their trims based on league positions, it's no wonder that Eric Ten Hag was bald. Now, over to the big teams now, and Arsenal's title charge has stuttered. Throwing away a 2-0 lead to draw versus Aston Villa, Yuri Tielemans and Ollie Watkins doing the damage here. Arsenal turn into a completely different football club when they've got a chance to bring the title lead down to 6 points. Mikel Dicteta here was suffering serious depression. This Arsenal fan was complaining to stewards at full time. Look, this is what happens when you're seeing Boko Haram ball for far too long. From disillusion to just outright delusion now. And some Arsenal fans genuinely reckon Kai Havertz was wronged here after this goal was cancelled out for a handball. You know what? We actually need a new segment because I'm telling you right now, Arsenal fans and their conspiracies are getting out of control. Someone tell Irish fans to calm down. It's Thierry Henry handball. It is stomach first, I swear down. There's no denying this, by the way, Arsenal fans. I genuinely cannot believe this is even a discussion. Kai has basically created a new version of the game with the strike that's gone in near. The reverse angle is even more telling. And genuinely, Kai Havertz he's a fraud. I'm not gonna lie to you. On the flip side though, a good week for league leaders Liverpool. Qualifying top of the Champions League round of 16 groups, so now we ain't got to play playoffs. You'll never sing that. And we left it late to beat Brentford in the league, 2-0 the score. Darwizzy the hero late again. Whatever you and I say about him, he's gonna do the Superman storyline twice a season. It's crazy. Harvey Elliott though, also impressive off the bench. Gotta give him some flowers too. This Bees fan had a crazy view from above Brentford Stadium, but probably wasn't as happy when those late goals went in. And we've also got to include Forest in this title race roundup, because they are now level on points with Arsenal in second after a win versus Southampton, who were 3-0 up and almost bottled this game, and Forest fans were willing to offer money to Anthony Taylor for VAR. Say you hate Chelsea, honestly, and he'll do it. He'll reverse it for you. He'll be waiting for a random Forest fan in the car park after full time so he can get a cheeky 25 quid in. Bournemouth managed to slap Newcastle this week too. Eddie Howe's form turned to red and his skin turned to black. Allegedly, according to this banner. Justin Kluivert was the hero here for the Cherries, scoring a hat-trick, and that means that he scored more goals at St James's Park than his dad did, who actually played for Newcastle. They're calling him Hat-Trick Kluivert. Yeah, obviously, because Man City absolutely slapped up Ipswich this week, and club sponsor Ed Sheeran was not happy about it.
Caesers have souls.
Ipswich truly a team of all time. Not a very good one here, though, unfortunately. But at least some good news for home fans for this 6-0 slapping. Some of them can still count the score on one hand. In the Champions League, and Celtic won late versus Swiss side Young Boys to make their passage through to the knockout stages already. There were wholesome scenes at full time where Young Boys supporters decided to give one young Celtic fan as a memento to take back home with him. One Celtic fan, and he was hoping to pump Young Boys over on Twitter.
Bang, see you later, you go in prison. And you're getting named and shamed.
Now, at Arsenal and in training, they're hoping to up the vibes to get the best out of some of their players, playing Brazilian samba music around the ground. They're trying to remind Martinelli that he's Brazilian. Either that, or it's the rest of the side being fake Brazilians in solidarity with the injured Gabi Jesus, who I think is from Shoreditch. And elsewhere at Arsenal, they have commemorated their most famous fan by bringing out an NPC jacket over on their shop. Not such great stuff over at Man City's women's side, who in the Manchester derby were looking for a quick start to the second half to get themselves back into the game, trying to put the ball into the net early. It's just a shame it was their own one, seconds in. There's been controversy on the boxing stage, as KSI was supposed to fight former Man City and Chelsea wing-back Wayne Bridge, only to face off against the former England international, remind him of how John Terry piped his ex, and for the fight to get completely called off. John Terry has somehow been less of a prick to this man than KSI was, and that's really saying something. He hasn't, that's a lie. He'll be running in to tackle JJ at the next charity match with Vim. Meanwhile, at Chelsea, and Mark Cucurella is taking up a new pastime.
We're gonna ban for ban. Hey. We're gonna M for M. Hey. Quarter me for the Maybach track.
Hey. Why am I seeing Mark Cucurella trying to go tapas for tapas with Central C? It's gonna get a little bit out of control when he steps into the dressing room for their next league match.
Real bad man, no muggle in a shot.
But speaking of Spain, and Real Madrid have had a dramatic week. It started pretty badly for them, just 27 seconds into their La Liga match against Las Palmas when Fabio Silva scored. 17 offside goals and 5 onside goals later, and they did at least manage to win this game. The Real fans were not happy with the VAR officials chanting corruption, the irony seeming to be lost on them for calling that one. Meanwhile, Fede Valverde has been scoring screamers and playing quite literally everywhere, and that continued into Real's game against Salzburg, where they slapped the Austrian side in the Champions League. Mbappe's now scored more goals in the competition than Thierry Henry. I'm convinced Kylian's been about for about 27 years, and he's 26 years of age. To be honest, he was just happy to hear some French in a press conference.
Bonjour, Kylian. Ici, Antoine Simoneau pour l'équipe. Sí, pero te voy a preguntar en español. Estoy obligado. Désolé.
Okay.
Apparently, KSI thick of it was playing inside the Santiago Bernabeu, as Red Bull Salzburg tweeted asking if the Spanish side needed a new DJ. I'm just imagining a random man tucking into some paella and discovering this for the first time. Hey, this one's kind of decent, you know. On a training pitch, and Jude Bellingham was getting rinsed by Vinny Jr. Hey, bro, come to Liverpool. That won't happen to you here, I swear, because our players aren't good enough for that. So one amateur Nigeria player made a splash in Spain this week, asking for Sevilla to give him a trial if he hit a certain amount of retweets. The Spanish side challenged him to 100k, and he actually managed to achieve it, so we'll see whether that ends up happening. Meanwhile, Mika Richards had a wardrobe malfunction, losing it as Barcelona scored against Benfica in the Champions League.
Oh my God, Raphinha!
It's okay though, he doesn't need a suit jacket because he's been given a new football shirt instead. French side Brest, who have clearly taken kindly to him just creasing their name on CBS Sports, decided to address him a personalised shirt that said Brest Lover on the back. Obviously this went down about as well as you would imagine on CBS Sports. They gave one to Thierry Henry as well, and they massively missed an opportunity to put his nickname Titi on the back of it as well. Elsewhere in France, and PSG faced off against, well, like 4th division side FC Esparly in the Coupe de France. They actually managed to concede 2 goals in this game, which is absolutely crazy. The level of opposition here, a student impressed in this game for FC Esparly. That's who they were playing up against. Massive congrats to them for even taking PSG to a game with all the finances that they have. Elsewhere in the Coupe de France, and 17-year-old Ryan Messi scored twice for Strasbourg. Remember the name.
A black Messi. A black fucking Messi.
Elsewhere in the competition, and Vito Manone, ex of Arsenal and Sunderland, was the hero for Lille, saving a vital penalty as a backup. He was getting a lot of love from the club's ultras. Meanwhile, Monaco versus Montpellier was interrupted this week as loud music was being played in the stands. Fucking hell, who let the Real Madrid DJ in there? Now over in Italy, and Atalanta versus Napoli was another classic of a game this week, with Scott McTominay coming in clutch yet again. Napoli fans were absolutely delighted. This continues their charge towards the title, with Atalanta of course having a great season as well. Kind of challenges for the Scudetto this campaign. A very important win for Conte's side. Even the pets in local vicinity were gassed at the victory. Giovanni Simeone was filming Napoli fans and asking them to send the footage to Kavica Kvaratskhelia to convince him not to leave. But the Georgian has signed for PSG anyway, and the French admin will be having a seizure trying to spell his name for the first time for the announcement on Twitter.
I can't do it.
You can!
In the Champions League, and Juventus played against Club Brugge. The game finished 0-0 and had one shot on target throughout the entire 90 minutes. Their dedication to drawing every game, this bit is actually impressive. Roma brought an interesting inflatable to their game recently in honor of the sacked falconer, Bernabé, from the last episode of FTW. If you don't know about that story, I'll let you read up on it yourself, to be honest with you. Elsewhere at Roma, and Matthew Ryan has left the club after having a massive impact for them. He made one save in his time at the Italian club. I don't even know that's possible, to be honest with you. Meanwhile, elsewhere, FC Como, managed by Cesc Fabregas, and Dele Alli has joined the club after his spell at Everton. Obviously, he's had a bit of a tumultuous time, sort of mentally, over the last few years as well, but I think, you know, the whole footballing world really hoping that he is a success and does well, and just starts enjoying his football again. So, good luck, Dele. In Germany, back in the Champions League, Bayern Munich had an absolute howler against Eredivisie side Feyenoord. Vincent Kompany might well be a fraud, I'm not gonna lie to you. Meanwhile, before their clash in the Champions League, and Atletico Madrid and Bayer Leverkusen were showing each other a lot of respect.
Madrid.
Now there is time for your goals of the week. We've got yet more beauties here. First of all, down to the National League, and Sean McGurk, who's pulled off some beautiful skill, lovely bit of dribbling, and powered one in from range. If we're talking power from range though, next up we're going over to Kenya and Ovela Ochieng, who plays for AFC Leopards. This free kick strike here is from a different zip code, and it has absolutely flown into the top corner. Unreal power from him. But finally, we're back in Brazil like last week, and again it's a pretty acrobatic attempt. This time it's coming from a side called Portuguesa, and again a Puskás nominee. The player flicking the ball up himself, chesting it, and then bicycle kicking it into the far corner. These lot are on different levels when it comes to bicycle kicks. Hello all, and welcome to The Beautiful Game, the segment where we take a look at the poetic and brilliant side of the game that we love. We are back by popular demand for yet more glorious beauty. And that concludes The Beautiful Game. Now back in the Champions League and at PSV Eindhoven, Veerman taking a corner is getting pelted with snowballs from Red Star Belgrade fans. If only he could enact some immediate revenge from an attack like a corner that would end in a goal and then celebrate in front of them. He's got big balls to be celebrating in front of Serbian fans like that, inciting violence, and that's something that Maurizio Pochettino likes, apparently.
I was very surprised because it was broke, you know. I said, no, I can't. Please, coach, let me to keep playing. And the first action, assist, and we scored. I said, big goals.
Over at Galatasaray, and Victor Osimhen was showing off his jumping leap, quite literally launching over one of his own teammates for a celebration. And staying in Turkey, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has been appointed as Besiktas manager. And not only that, but he's won his first game, a 4-1 victory over Athletic Club in the Europa League. He'll now have some wise words for Scott McTominay to go and join him over at the Turkish project.
Come to Besiktas.
There's been a lot of political drama, it's fair to say, this week. If you've logged onto Twitter even once, then you've seen all of it. One thing you might have missed was one bald-headed man in the background of Donald Trump's inauguration. That man, Gianni Infantino, who seems to be best mates with him now, given the World Cup coming up in 2026. And if you're best mates with Gianni Infantino, you're not a good man.
Today I feel racist.
Back in the Netherlands and at Heerenveen, I've genuinely had a new fear unlocked as this player's gone to blow his nose and it's all ended up in his eye. I don't even know how, like, geographically or biologically that happens, by the way. He's got to go to the doctors right now. In Saudi Arabia now, on two extremes when it comes to comfort of winning a game. First of all, Al Hilal, who managed to win 9-0 this week. Then over at Al Fateh, they managed to leave their winner till the latest moment possible, scoring in the 20th minute of injury time from a penalty after a long VAR call versus Damak. Closer to home though now, and we've got a stadium ban being enforced for persistent standing in a crowd. This game is absolutely gone. Man City fans haven't sat down for years in the Etihad or stood up there either. They just don't go. That's pretty much. At Northampton's women's side, and they were 15-0 up inside the first 45 minutes, labelling it a good half over on Twitter. What you reckon? Meanwhile, at Millwall, and they decided to take to Twitter to put out a graphic for their goalkeeper making a good save. A goal graphic type thing for a goalkeeper making a save? Yeah, I've seen enough, mate.
I'm rapidly falling out of love with football.
I would have understood this a little bit more if it was Brackley down in the Vanarama North who were posting this instead, as they had a man in goal who's not usually supposed to be there. George Carline was fresh off the back of scoring in the first half in this game, only for his side's goalkeeper to get sent off just before the break. That meant that he then had to step in between the sticks, and the man who scored then went in goal in the same game. That can't happen very often. In Brazil, and we've got a squad celebrating here, Vitoria's team have just won a game. They're very happy, extremely happy, based on the shadow that's being formed on the wall in the background. On a similar vibe, and in Algeria, we've gone from clapping cheeks to checking them, as Algerian VAR's got an unfortunate spelling mistake over on TV. In the Swiss Pro League now, and what the fuck is going on in their title race right now? These lot have got a crazy amount of teams all covered by like 2 points. Meanwhile, up in Scotland, and a Broxburn Athletic fan decided to try and put off Jay Henderson of Ayr United by getting his bare arse out. Now there is time for Still 0-0, and you guys know the score by now. This is a segment of the show where I bring to you the best of Sunday League and amateur football. And this time we've got a team that are fighting desperately to make sure that their game goes ahead. There's lots of reasons why a game might get postponed. Terrible weather, teams not turning up, referees calling in sick. It's not usually though because the team needs to go on a wild goose chase. But that is exactly what's happened at 9th tier side West Allotment Celtic FC, who quite literally had to go on a wild goose chase because their pitch was covered in them and their excrement. In the end, the game didn't go ahead, and the team have even made some merch to celebrate what is a very unusual circumstance. On to the weird stuff though now. First of all, we're heading to an island that you may have never even heard of. Ascension Island, which is the second most remote island in the entire world. Kind of in between Africa and the easternmost peak of South America. They incredibly, despite being so remote, have their own football championship. Not many transfers happen there, I'm not gonna lie, from abroad. I'll be totally honest with you. What has happened is the cancellation of their league recently due to an infestation of tortoises. Thankfully, they've managed to solve this issue. I don't know why they didn't just move the tortoises, but... And finally, we've got the weirdest friendly that almost happened. We head over to Kosovo at a side called FC Giuliani, who had organised to play a nation. Now, this is very rare already, but they decided that they wanted to play up against North Korea. North Korea aren't seen playing football very often. In fact, half the time they completely disappear, but they were willing to play in this game, seemingly, even making a match graphic that had the Kosovan side's manager and Kim Jong-un on the other side. I don't think he's going to have been down on the touchline, but look, listen, I respect the artistic decision making. Unfortunately, the game didn't end up going ahead. That though is going to wrap up football this week, and I hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, then feel free to slap a like on the video, and of course subscribe if you're new to the channel. You can also follow me on social media. It is at @officialfng on Twitter and on Insta. It's been a pleasure ranting at you guys today. Have a wonderful day, enjoy yourselves, and goodbye.